Hello there, and welcome to Deep Space Sleep. I'm glad you're here tonight. Beneath every thought, beneath the noise of the day and the whisper of dreams, there is something quietly awake. It doesn't rush. It doesn't speak. It simply notices. Consciousness is the soft light within all experience. The awareness that watches the world unfold and asks for nothing in return. What you call your memories, your thoughts. Your emotions are just small waves upon a deeper ocean of awareness. Science can trace brainwaves and measure electric rhythms. Yet the mystery itself remains untouched. Still, that mystery is here, breathing through you, moment by moment. Tonight, we'll drift through that invisible landscape, through the brain's silent hum, through the spaces between waking and dream, through the quiet intelligence that connects all living things. We'll listen to what awareness feels like when it finally lets go. Before we begin, let me know in the comments where you're listening from tonight and what time it is where you are. Your words help other sleepy souls find their way to this calm space of mind and light. For now, let your breath slow. Let your thoughts loosen. Let's begin. Even in the stillness of night, the brain never truly falls silent. Within its folded valleys, billions of cells pulse in delicate rhythm, releasing faint electrical hums that ripple like slow tides. Even during deep sleep, when thought dissolves into darkness, that current continues steady, patient, alive. Scientists can record this faint symphony through waves of light and sound, tracing the gentle rise and fall of voltage that marks every breath, every dream. It is the hum of awareness, beneath awareness, a constant signal whispering that life is still here, quietly tending its fire. When you rest, it hums for you. When you drift away, it keeps the rhythm until you return. Beneath the skull, consciousness unfolds like an orchestra without a conductor. Each neuron plays a single tone, faint on its own, but together they form the harmony of thought, memory, and perception. Some notes are bright, flashes of vision or sound. Others are deep, carrying emotion and memory. The tempo changes with mood, slowing during rest, quickening with excitement. Yet no one instrument controls the whole. Awareness emerges from their synchronization, a collective wave of light moving through hidden corridors of the brain. Even as you drift towards sleep, this orchestra continues softly, reshaping silence into the gentle music of being alive. Researchers studying consciousness often describe it as coherence, the moment when separate brain regions begin to hum in unison. Waves of electricity align across the cortex, binding sight, sound, and emotion into a single seamless now. When those patterns fall out of sync, awareness fragments, and the sense of presence fades. Meditation, breathwork, and deep rest seem to restore this harmony, slowing the noise until only rhythm remains. In those moments, the mind feels both vast and still, like the surface of calm water. Science can measure the pattern, but the quiet experience itself must be felt a unity that no language can quite explain. During deep sleep, the brain enters slow oscillations, waves so long and smooth they resemble the rhythm of ocean tides. Each surge brings neurons together into silence, then releases them again. This alternating current allows the body to heal and the mind to reset. Within these long pulses, consciousness loosens its structure, allowing memories to settle and repair to begin. What looks from outside like absence is, in truth, a different form of order. The brain is still alive in its own quiet code, whispering between pulses, rest, rebuild, renew. Dreaming gently dissolves the borders of the self. The brain, freed from the senses, begins to weave scenes and symbols without logic or control. The regions that define identity grow dim, while emotional centers brighten, painting inner worlds where anything can happen. You are still there, yet not as a name or a body, more like a presence moving through stories of light. In this soft disassembly, the mind rehearses its art of letting go, teaching you each night how to return to peace. When the dream fades, the self gathers again, carrying back a trace of that freedom. Consciousness may not be a single spark, but something that emerges when countless systems integrate. The brain weaves together vision, memory, touch, and emotion into one unified stream, transforming chaos into continuity. No single cell knows the whole, yet from their connections, awareness arises like light from 1,000 candles. This principle of emergence appears across nature: flocks of birds, waves of the sea, cells of the body. Each part follows its own rhythm, yet together they create something larger, more fluid, and quietly intelligent. In this way, your awareness is not built piece by piece, it blooms all at once. Every moment, as harmony born from complexity, deep within the folds of the cortex. Tiny loops of neurons speak in circuits of repetition. They echo and refine signals, creating stable patterns that feel like thought, sensation, or emotion. These micro loops process milliseconds of information, yet from their recursive rhythm comes something immense: subjective experience. Science can trace the pathway, but not the spark that turns data into feeling. It's as if the brain hums itself into being, replaying patterns until awareness forms between the echoes. Within these loops, consciousness finds its smallest mirror, endlessly reflecting itself in silence, even when the mind seems idle. A hidden network continues to hum, the default mode network, active during daydreaming, memory, and inner speech. It drifts between past and future, constructing the quiet story of who you are. This internal monologue never truly stops. It softens only when you rest. Meditation and deep calm dim its volume, revealing spaces of pure awareness beneath the chatter. Scientists map its activity like constellations of self, lighting up when the mind wanders inward. In those moments of stillness, the narrative fades, but the listener remains awake, peaceful, and quietly aware of its own depth. Attention is the mind's narrow beam of light, focusing on one thing while dimming the rest. But when that beam collapses, awareness widens like the night sky. Without effort, the senses open together: sound, breath, heartbeat, each merging into one continuous field. This is the paradox of consciousness. When you stop trying to notice, you begin to truly perceive. The boundaries between observer and observed dissolve, leaving only still presence. In this gentle expansion, the mind no longer chases meaning, it becomes meaning itself. Vast and unbroken, even a rest, the brain burns with quiet intensity. It consumes about 1/5 of all the body's energy. Even when no thought appears to move, neurons fire softly, maintaining the network of life that never sleeps. This constant energy supports the maintenance of memory, emotion, and readiness. A low hum of vigilance in the dark. The mind is always awake somewhere, tending its circuitry like embers that refuse to fade. When the body lies still, that unseen fire continues, guiding every heartbeat and breath. In its persistence, consciousness finds endurance, the silent glow that keeps you alive, aware, and beautifully human. When thought softens, the mind begins to mirror the night itself, calm, infinite, aware. During REM sleep, the mind lights up almost as brightly as when awake. Bursts of rapid eye movement mark the moments when dreams begin. Stitched from fragments of the day, the hippocampus replays patterns of experience, helping the brain file memories into lasting form. It is a rehearsal of reality, gentle and chaotic, where moments are sorted and softened. In this nightly symphony, emotions lose their sharpness and thoughts dissolve into story. What feels like wandering through dreamscapes is, at its core, the brain quietly reorganizing itself every night. Through REM, you forget a little noise and remember what matters most. Lucid dreaming is the fragile border between waking and sleep, a moment when the dreamer becomes aware inside the dream. The brain's prefrontal regions flicker awake, allowing self-recognition within the flow of imagination. This halfway awareness creates worlds that feel both real and fluid, where choice still exists, but logic melts away. Some use it to heal fear or explore creativity. Others simply drift, aware of their own drifting. In this delicate state, consciousness floats like a lantern between two realities. The dream knows it is dreaming, and yet continues, soft and shimmering, until morning light fades it back into memory. Each night, as you fall into deep sleep, a quiet safety mechanism awakens. The brain sends signals that gently paralyze most voluntary muscles, preventing the body from acting out its dreams. Eyes may flicker, but limbs stay still, the body sealed in stillness while the mind moves freely. This state is called atonia, a natural safeguard shaped by evolution. Without it, we would walk through our dreams. The paralysis is not confinement, but protection, a soft tether, keeping imagination safe within its world. When it lifts at dawn, the body breathes again, unaware of how many adventures it has quietly survived. Sleep unfolds in repeating cycles, each lasting about 90 minutes. Within them, the mind descends and rises through stages of depth, resetting emotion and restoring balance. The amygdala, seat of fear and intensity, calms its pulse. Stress hormone is full. Neural circuits réorganisent, trimming what is no longer needed, strengthening what endures. This nightly rhythm is the mind's way of sweeping its flaws, dusting away excess feeling. Each cycle closes like a gentle tide, leaving you lighter, clearer, and more at ease. By morning, emotion finds its middle ground again, the soft equilibrium that makes waking life bearable. As night deepens, the brain begins its hidden cleansing. A network of channels called the glymphatic system opens, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to wash through tissues like a slow, luminous tide. Waste proteins and cellular fragments drift away, carried out of thought's busy corridors. During waking hours, these paths are narrow. Only in sleep do they widen and flow freely. The brain, like the ocean, renews itself in silence. When morning comes, the channels close again, leaving behind clarity and calm. You awaken lighter not only in mind, but in matter itself, cleaned by the rhythm of sleep's invisible sea. Nightmares are not punishments from the mind, but rehearsals for survival. When fear returns in dreams, it does so within the safe theatre of sleep, where the body lies still and the danger cannot reach you. Neuroscientists find that during nightmares, emotional centers like the amygdala flare brightly, while logic and control fade. The mind revisits fear to diffuse it, replaying intense memories until they lose their sharpness. It is therapy written in symbols, dark, wild, and ultimately healing. By facing what frightens us in dreams, the nervous system learns calm in waking life. Even terror, it seems, can serve rest. As the body drifts towards sleep, brain temperature drops by a few precious degrees. This cooling allows metabolism to slow and damaged cells to repair themselves. Proteins fold more efficiently. Synapses reset their sensitivity, and inflammation eases. It is as though the mind steps into a colder, quieter room to mend its circuits. The drop in temperature signals to every cell that rest has begun. Beneath the blankets, that subtle chill helps thoughts settle like snow. By dawn, the warmth returns not from effort, but from renewal. Cooling is the mind's way of breathing out heat and gathering silence. Dreams are tapestries woven from the threads of recent experience. The brain gathers fragments, faces, sounds, half-remembered places, and spins them into patterns that rarely obey logic but reveal emotional truth. During REM sleep, neural circuits that store memory replay and recombine, forming vivid stories out of fragments. This weaving helps consolidate learning and smooth the edges of daily experience. Each dream is a quiet workshop where reality is reshaped into meaning. What seems random is the brain stitching life into continuity, sewing yesterday into tomorrow, until the fabric feels whole again by morning. Falling asleep is less an event than a slow surrender. Awareness doesn't shut off, it drifts, dissolving through layers of stillness until nothing remains to observe. Alpha waves fade into theta, then delta, each slower than the last. The mind's edges blur, time stretches, and identity softens like ink in water. This gentle descent is the rehearsal for letting go, the nightly reminder that rest is a kind of trust. You do not vanish when sleep comes. You expand into quiet, joining the rhythm that carries everything toward peace. Consciousness simply learns to breathe without needing to watch itself. Even in deeper sleep, part of the brain keeps listening. The auditory cortex and limbic system remain faintly alert, filtering sounds for danger or familiarity. A mother may wake at a baby's cry, but not to passing traffic. The mind recognizes what belongs to it. This vigilant circuit is an ancient guardian, inherited from nights when survival required half sleep. It works silently, allowing rest without risk. While dreams unfold, that sentinel remains awake within, patient and precise. When the night is safe, it never intervenes. Awareness does not vanish. It merely stands watch in the quiet corners of the dark. As sleep deepens, consciousness doesn't vanish. It flows underground, where silence continues to think. Inside the skull, billions of neurons fire in bursts of light, so intricate they resemble constellations. Each impulse is a spark bridging space, crossing microscopic voids that mirror the distance between stars. When scientists record brain activity, the glowing webs look like galaxies, clusters forming, dissolving, and forming again. Thought itself is a cosmic event in miniature, unfolding at the speed of electricity. Every idea, every heartbeat of perception is a flicker in this neural night sky. Beneath the bone, the universe is happening again in silence. Matter turning to light, light returning to awareness, and awareness shimmering endlessly. Just to know that it exists, the brain folds upon itself like mountains pressed upward by unseen tectonic forces. These ridges, Geary and Sulci, expand surface area, allowing billions more neurons to fit within the limited space of the skull. More folds mean more room for thought, memory, and subtlety. Each curve holds streams of white matter connecting distant regions, valleys where ideas travel and return. From above, the folded brain resembles a planetary landscape terrain of cognition shaped by time and necessity. Within these living canyons, electrical rivers carve pathways of experience. Every fold tells a story of adaptation, the mind growing denser, richer, deeper, in pursuit of its own awareness. When scientists count the synaptic connections in a single human brain, the number rivals the stars of the Milky Way. Each neuron can link to thousands of others, forming a network so vast it defies imagination. Signals travel through this lattice in waves, connecting memories, sensations, and choices. In this silent expanse, a thought can reach anywhere, from vision to language to emotion, all within fractions of a second. The universe and the mind mirror one another, both born from explosions of energy, both learning to organize chaos into beauty. To think, then, is to participate in something cosmic, the Milky Way folding itself inward, becoming self-aware. The brain quietly generates its own magnetic fields, faint yet constant. As electrical currents move through neurons, sensitive instruments can detect these ripples, mapping thought as shifting waves of magnetism. Though subtle, these fields influence timing and coherence, helping distant brain regions synchronize. It is as if the mind tunes itself like a radio, aligning invisible frequencies so awareness remains smooth and continuous, even without motion, even in stillness. The brain hums with this magnetic whisper. You carry a small aurora within you, shimmering softly beneath the skin, a field of thought shaped by light and electricity. Each memory is an electrical constellation, a shimmering pattern that lives for only a moment before vanishing into quiet circuits. When recalled, it flickers back into brightness, as if reignited across the night sky of the brain. Proteins change shape, ions move, networks spark in precise choreography. These patterns, billions of them, create the landscape of the self. What you call remembering is really the brain reassembling light from fragments of energy. Nothing is fixed. Each memory is rebuilt. Slightly different, gently new. It is how the mind keeps time by endlessly painting its own stars, then letting them fade again into dark. At the center of the brain lies the thalamus, a small, oval structure that acts like the conductor of an invisible orchestra. Every signal from the senses passes through it before reaching awareness. Sight, sound, touch, all tuned into harmony. It filters, directs, and balances, deciding what becomes conscious and what fades into background hum. When light strikes the eyes, it is the thalamus that decides how brightly it will shine within the mind, even in darkness. It keeps the rhythm, maintaining the pulse of perception. Without this quiet gatekeeper, the thought would collapse into noise. The thalamus does not create awareness, it keeps it in tune, ensuring that the inner light plays in perfect time with the outer world. When you close your eyes, the brain does not fall dark, it begins to paint. Visual centers awaken, generating colors and motion without light. Shapes form, dissolve, and reform a private aurora of mind. The occipital lobe, freed from the external world, turns inward, projecting its own cosmos across the canvas of imagination. Scientists call these patterns phosphenes, sparks of self-made light that reveal how deeply vision belongs to the brain, not the eyes. Behind every eyelid lies a universe waiting to be seen, glowing softly with the residue of thought. When darkness comes, the mind becomes its own telescope, discovering infinity within. Consciousness itself feels like a universe in motion, expanding, collapsing, reshaping itself each second. Thoughts rise and fade, like galaxies forming from dust. Attention drifts like gravity, pulling certain ideas closer while others spiral away. Within this vast inner space, emotions swirl like nebulae, memories orbit one another, and awareness watches from the quiet center. It is not a solid thing, but a process, always changing, always alive. The mind creates its own physics, its own time, its own light. In every heartbeat, a new constellation forms. Consciousness is both the cosmos and the observer, endlessly generating and gazing upon itself in wonder. The difference between a neuron and a star is mostly scale. Both flash with energy. Both exist in networks. Both communicate through waves of light and motion. The patterns that link galaxies echo the shapes of neural pathways, repeating across size and distance. A firing neuron releases energy like a miniature supernova, shaping thought the way stars shape space. The same physical laws, gravity, charge, and resonance govern them both. The brain, then, is not separate from the cosmos, but a continuation of it, a smaller reflection of the same architecture. Between neuron and star, there is only a difference of distance, not of kind. Every human mind is a galaxy of awareness, expanding and contracting in silent rhythm. Ideas drift like planets, orbiting memories that act as suns. Beliefs cluster like star systems, connected by threads of emotion and habit. Within this galaxy, every experience becomes a constellation, some bright and new, others ancient and fading. No two minds share the same map. Each is its own cosmos, private yet infinite. When two people meet, it is like galaxies passing near one another, exchanging light without collision. Awareness is not housed within the brain alone, it radiates outward, filling the unseen space between us, vast and softly luminous. Somewhere between atoms and galaxies, awareness glows, small yet endless, quiet yet fast. The sense of I is not a fixed truth, but a story the brain keeps retelling. Moment, the mind gathers memories, sensations, and emotions, then strings them together into a single narrative of self. Yet that story changes constantly. rewritten with every breath. Neuroscience shows that identity is more like a performance than a solid object, an echo that needs to be spoken to exist. When memory fades, the story weakens. When emotion rises, the plot shifts. Still, the narrator within continues, trying to weave meaning from fragments. The self is an artist painting the same portrait each day, never quite the same, never truly complete. Beneath the tale, awareness watches quietly, untouched by the character it describes. Split brain research reveals how fragile unity truly is. When the two hemispheres of the brain are surgically separated, they begin to act with startling independence. One side may reach for an object, while the other denies wanting it. Each hemisphere perceives and decides on its own, suggesting two centers of consciousness, sharing one body, yet only one voice narrates the experience. Unaware of the silent partner within, the illusion of a single self persists. Stitched together by language and memory, what we call me may be a chorus, not a solo multiple minds, harmonizing so perfectly we believe they are one. When injury touches the brain, identity can change in ways that defy expectation. A stroke, tumor, or trauma can alter personality, preference, even morale sense. Some awaken with new languages or talents. Others feel like strangers in their own lives. These shifts reveal that who we are depends on patterns of connection, not unchanging essence. The self is a circuit, and when that circuit is rewired, the story transforms. Yet something deeper remains a witness behind the changes, quietly aware of the loss and the rebirth. In that continuity, we glimpse the mystery of consciousness itself, ever changing form held by unchanging presence. Science continues to question free will, that most cherished of illusions. Experiments show that the brain often decides before awareness catches up. Electrodes record neural activity, milliseconds before a conscious choice appears. We act, and only afterward claim intention, yet this does not erase freedom, it reframes it. Will may not be a spark that starts action, but a wave that observes and shapes it afterward. Like a surfer riding a current already moving, we guide, but do not create the flow. In this softer understanding, control becomes harmony, not command the mind following the river of itself with quiet grace. Meditation quiets the inner storm, slowing the endless chatter of thought that defines the restless self. Brain scans reveal decreased activity in the default mode network, the region responsible for self-referential thinking, and increased coherence in areas tied to attention and empathy. In deep stillness, the narrative of I grows thin, replaced by open awareness that feels boundless and calm. Practitioners describe it as dissolving into presence, a peace where the observer and the observed merge. The mind becomes spacious. Like air after rain, what remains is not emptiness, but fullness without edges, a self no longer speaking, just breathing. During moments of deep calm, the prefrontal cortex, the region that plans, judges, and controls, begins to quiet. Brain scans show that meditation, prayer, or even prolonged stillness lowers activity in this area, softening the boundaries of self-awareness. The inner voice grows faint. The sense of time stretches, and attention flows without effort. When the prefrontal cortex rests, experience unfolds naturally, no longer filtered through constant evaluation. It is the brain's way of stepping aside, allowing awareness to exist without commentary. In this silence, Thought moves like wind through tall grass, present but ungrasped. Calm is not the absence of activity, it is the return to effortless being. Across the animal world, a few species recognize themselves in mirrors. Humans, dolphins, elephants, magpies, and even some primates display this spark of self-awareness. They touch marks on their bodies, inspect reflections, and appear to realize, that is me. This capacity suggests that consciousness is not uniquely human, but a broader phenomenon woven through life. Mirror recognition reveals an inner model, a mind capable of seeing itself as object and subject at once. It is a quiet miracle of evolution, the universe, through living creatures, learning to notice its own face. Each glance into the mirror, whether by bird or human, is awareness turning inward, meeting itself. Memory stitches together the illusion of a continuous self. Every remembered moment becomes a thread, woven through time to create the pattern called me. Without memory, identity unravels. With it, the past becomes the anchor of the present. Yet memory is not fixed. It reshapes itself each time it's recalled, blending truth with imagination. What we carry forward is not the exact past, but its emotional imprint, softened and revised. Neuroscience shows that every recollection reactivates and rewires the neural network that holds it. Thus, memory is both history and creation, endlessly rewritten by the act of remembering. The self, then, is a living fabric, flexible, frayed, and beautiful in its impermanence. When the ego dissolves, awareness expands beyond its narrow borders. The constant narration that defines I begins to fade, replaced by a sense of openness that feels both infinite and intimate. Mystics and meditators describe this state as merging with everything: the wind, the breath, the quiet pulse of life itself. Neuroscience captures glimpses of this transformation: synchronized brainwaves, lowered activity in self-referential regions, and heightened connection across distant areas. The result is unity, not loss, a dissolving of walls rather than self. In that vastness, awareness feels lighter, freer, and profoundly still, as if the universe is breathing through you. The self flickers between memory and presence, like a candle flame shifting in air. One moment, you are fully here, sensing the world as it is. The next, you drift into thought, wrapped in echoes of who you were. This flickering gives rise to the rhythm of consciousness, the pulse between now and then. Awareness anchors itself in both, translating experience into story and story back into being. To live is to oscillate between remembering and perceiving, between the weight of the past and the clarity of the present. In each return to now, the mind briefly forgets itself and becomes whole again. When the self softens, awareness becomes like water, clear, uncontained, and endlessly still. Between every pair of neurons lies a synapse, a microscopic gap where thoughts leap as light. Electrical impulses reach the edge of one cell and release bursts of chemical messengers, tiny sparks that carry information across the void. These sparks last less than 1,000th of a second, yet they create everything you know: movement, memory, emotion, awareness itself. Under the microscope, the process glows faintly, like stars transferring light between them. Each connection strengthens or weakens with use, shaping how easily thoughts flow. Learning is the brain's art of rerouting this lightning. Billions of these chemical flashes occur every moment, building the quiet storm that makes a single thought possible. Inside the brain, neurotransmitters color experience like invisible paints. Dopamine adds brightness and anticipation. Serotonin softens edges into calm. Norepinephrine sharpens focus. GABA mutes the noise. Together, they create the palette of mood. Their balance shifts throughout the day: sunlight, food, movement, and sleep all act as subtle brushes, changing tone and texture. When harmony prevails, the mind feels steady, luminous, and alive. When imbalance arrives, emotions distort like colors under strange light. Mood is not mystery, but chemistry, a living spectrum that responds to how you move, breathe, and rest. You are, in essence, a painting made of electrical hue. Serotonin moves quietly through the nervous system, guiding emotion and rest without fanfare. It stabilizes mood, regulates appetite, and helps sleep arrive gently. During deep calm, levels of serotonin rise, spreading peace through the body like warm sunlight under the skin. It reminds cells when to slow, when to repair, when to release tension. Low serotonin clouds perception. Its presence clears the mind into equilibrium. Scientists call it a modulator, but it acts more like a whisper, a message that says, "You are safe now." In its rhythm lies the body's trust in stillness, the biochemical signature of contentment. Dopamine is the spark of curiosity, the anticipation that pulls life forward. Each surge rewards the act of seeking a mystery solved, a melodiher, a goal imagined. It fuels exploration, learning, and motivation, turning potential into motion. Yet too much, and the world feels restless. Too little, and it dims. The balance of dopamine defines vitality itself. It is not pleasure, but pursuit. The bright hum of wanting to know. Within this chemical drive lies evolution's secret, awareness made mobile. Every question, every discovery, begins with its electric shimmer, calling the mind to awaken again. Without sleep, consciousness begins to warp. The brain, denied its cycles of repair, loses rhythm, thoughts blur, emotions sharpen, and perception fractures. Studies show that after long wakefulness, neurons misfire and communication slows. As if the circuits have grown heavy, the boundaries between dreaming and waking fade, giving rise to illusions and confusion. The world remains the same, but its meaning slips away. Sleep deprivation is not just fatigue, it is the unraveling of coherence. The mind still runs, but without alignment, like stars scattered without gravity. In rest, awareness restores itself. Without it, light loses form. Each night, as you rest, the hippocampus replays fragments of the day in quiet loops. Experiences are reactivated, sorted, and filed into long-term memory, like books finding their shelves. This replay strengthens important connections, ensuring that what matters is kept and what fades can safely drift away. It happens silently, beneath dream and thought, a kind of invisible study session performed by the brain itself. Scientists have recorded these patterns, tiny echoes of waking life, rippling through neurons as you sleep. It is how memory becomes lasting, how the mind polishes experience into understanding. Even in stillness, Learning continues, repeating softly until it becomes part of who you are. A single thought lasts only milliseconds, yet their number is infinite. Each arises from coordinated neural sparks, brief and bright, vanishing as quickly as they appear. The mind is a current, not a container, an ever-renewing stream of patterns flashing in and out of awareness. Science can measure their duration, but not their depth. They unfold too fast, too fluidly, to capture in full. Within 1 minute, the brain may process thousands of micro-thoughts, weaving perception, emotion, and reflection into one seamless flow. Like stars flickering in night water, they shimmer and vanish, leaving ripples that form memory. Infinity hides not in length, but in repetition, the endless renewal of the moment now. The vagus nerve is the body's quiet bridge between physiology and awareness, stretching from the brainstem through the heart, in lungs, and gut. It carries a constant conversation between body and mind. When it hums gently, heart rate slows, digestion deepens, and calm settles over thought. It is the physical channel of serenity, a biological whisper reminding the nervous system to rest. Stimulating this nerve through breathing or gentle rhythm brings peace, not by force, but by connection. Modern science calls it parasympathetic activation, but in essence, it is the body remembering how to trust itself. Through the vagus, the mind learns what the heart already knows, that safety begins in stillness. Slow breathing reshapes the brain's rhythm from within. Each deep, measured inhale activates the nervous system. Each slow exhale invites release. Over time, this pattern lowers stress hormones, zunkornita's heart rate, and calms activity in the amygdala, the center of fear. Brain scans reveal smoother waves, steadier patterns of coherence, and a widening sense of peace. It is not magic, but biology, a rhythm older than language. Breathing slowly is how awareness teaches the body to soften. And the body, in turn, teaches the mind to trust. With every breath, neurons learn the shape of calm, and consciousness expands into its most natural state, quiet, grounded, alive. The heartbeat is the metronome of awareness. With every pulse, blood surges through arteries, carrying the rhythm that thought unconsciously follows. The brain's electrical patterns subtly align to that rhythm, creating waves of coherence between heart and mind. When calm, the heart's beat becomes steady and flexible. When anxious, it grows jagged, pulling attention with it. Heart rate variability, the measure of that subtle change, reveals how gracefully the nervous system adapts to life. In meditation or rest, this coherence deepens. Each pulse becomes a signal of harmony. The mind does not lead the heart, it listens. Consciousness, at its core, is the body's own rhythm, learning to hear itself. Every pulse, every breath, every spark of thought, each is a doorway to rest, if entered gently. Plants do not think as we do, yet they sense and respond with remarkable awareness. Their cells detect light, gravity, pressure, and even sound vibrations, turning stimuli into movement and growth. Roots curve toward water, leaves follow the sun, flowers close at night like slow, silent eyes. Experiments show that plants can hear the buzz of bees and increase nectar output in response. Others communicate through chemical signals, warning neighbors of danger or drought. Though they have no brain, each cell acts as both receiver and responder, forming a distributed intelligence that learns the rhythm of its environment. In the quiet patience of photosynthesis, the plant world listens to life and adapts, proving that awareness can take many forms. Even the green and wordless, the octopus carries its mind in 8 directions at once. 2/3 of its neurons live in its arms, allowing each limb to act independently, exploring, tasting, and deciding on its own. Yet somehow the creature remains unified, its central brain coordinating only broad intention while the arms improvise detail. This distributed intelligence creates behavior that feels almost human in complexity. Play, curiosity, mischief. An octopus can unscrew jars, sauver puzzles, and recognize faces. Even after long intervals, its skin shifts color in response to mood and environment, as if emotion itself were written in pigment. To watch one move is to witness thought turned liquid, awareness flowing through muscle and water together. Beneath the soil, fungal networks pulse with a strange intelligence. Strands of mycelium connect roots, exchange nutriments, and even store traces of experience like memory. When resources shift, the network remembers old routes and chooses efficient paths to reach them again. Signals travel through chemical and electrical pulses, echoing the logic of neural systems. The forest depends on this fungal web, its hidden internet of life, to balance growth and decay. When one tree weakens, others send sustenance through these threads. Memory here has no neurons, no skull, yet it exists, a living archive written in soil, in every forest, beneath every footstep. Intelligence spreads quietly, rewriting what it means to know. Slime molds move without a brain, yet solve puzzles that confound machines. In experiments, these golden organisms find the shortest path through mazes, connect food sources efficiently, and adapt when conditions change. They learn through movement, laying trails of slime, sensing which paths succeed, and avoiding failed ones. Over time, their networks resemble the optimized layouts of human cities or transport systems. Each cell acts alone, but communicates through chemical feedback, creating a collective intelligence that thinks without thought. The slime mold teaches that awareness does not require neurons, only responsiveness. It is nature's proof that cognition can emerge wherever information flows freely. Even in the simplest forms of life, migratory birds navigate with a sense that borders on the supernatural. Scientists discovered that they perceive Earth's magnetic field, detecting its subtle shifts through light-sensitive molecules in their eyes. As they fly, these molecules form faint visual patterns that guide direction, like an invisible map written across the sky. Combined with memory, stars, and scent, this magnetic sense allows birds to cross entire continents with uncanny precision. Even newborns, untrained, can orient themselves toward ancestral roots. The mechanism is still partly mystery, but the effect is clear. Instinct fused with perception into quiet mastery. When they soar, they follow forces older than thought lines of the planet, drawn in light and magnetism. When trees are wounded or under attack, they speak through scent. Damaged leaves release chemical signals, tiny molecules drifting through the air that warn neighboring trees of danger. Those nearby respond by producing defensive compounds, thickening their leaves or releasing tannins to deter insects. Underground, the mycelium network carries these alerts even farther, turning forests into vast, communicating organisms. A tree isolated from its neighbors struggles more, while one connected to the network can sense and adapt. Scientists call this volatile, organic messaging, yet it feels closer to empathy written in chemistry. The forest does not panic. It responds. What we call instinct in trees is a quiet collaboration life, listening, signaling, and caring through invisible breath. Dolphins name each other in whistles, high-pitched calls, unique to each individual. These signature sounds function like identity tags, allowing them to recognize companions even after years apart. Mothers teach calves their own whistles. Friends exchange names in greeting. When one dolphin calls another, the response mirrors recognition, a vocal handshake across the sea. This form of communication shows not just intelligence, but memory and self-awareness. The capacity to know you and me. Scientists have even observed dolphins imitating human-made patterns, as though bridging languages through sound. In their fluid world of echo and resonance, each whistle is an introduction, a reminder that the ocean, too, carries voices that think. In the buzzing dark of a hive, bees communicate with movement. Returning from a foraging flight, a worker performs a waggle dance, mapping the distance and direction of nectar through rhythm and angle. The dance encodes the sun's position, wind direction, and scent, a precise geometry of food. Other bees watch, decode, and fly out to the same source. Together, this choreography turns the hive into a living compass. No leader directs it, yet thousands act as one, following information carried in motion. The dance is both language and awareness, proof that intelligence can hum through collective rhythm, even in creatures small enough to hold in your hand. Life invents its own mathematics of meaning. Coral reefs are slow thinkers of the sea, colonies of tiny polyps building vast architectures of color and life. Each coral senses light, current, and temperature, adjusting growth to maintain harmony within its environment. Through chemical signaling, they coordinate feeding and reproduction, synchronizing entire ecosystems. When waters warm or acidify, corals expel their symbiotic algae in distress, bleaching like a pale cry for balance. Though they cannot move or speak, they adapt, rebuild, and sometimes recover, teaching resilience through patience. The reef is both brain and body, thought and structure intertwined. Within its stillness, intelligence flows as rhythm, not reaction, a memory of the ocean itself. Awareness may not be a line dividing humans from the rest of life, but a spectrum shimmering through all existence. From the faint responsiveness of single cells to the complex reflection of human thought, consciousness scales upward, like light through fog, different in brightness, never in kind. Every organism, in its own way, participates in the act of noticing, a flower tracking the sun, a bat echoing its flight, a person watching their own breath. The spectrum of awareness widens endlessly, linking every form of life through shared attention. To be alive is to perceive is to belong to the same quiet field of knowing. Perhaps consciousness doesn't belong to us. It flows through life wherever life pays attention. Color does not exist outside the mind. The world is made only of light waves, invisible until the brain translates them into hue. When light strikes the eye, receptors for red, green, and blue send electrical signals to the visual cortex, where neurons combine them into millions of shades. Every color you see, sunset, orange, ocean teal, Forest green is a private creation, born from perception rather than reality. In darkness, those wavelengths vanish, yet your brain can still recall their warmth from memory. Color, then, is emotion made visible, an inner language of light. The world offers only frequency. Consciousness paints it into beauty. Each of us carries a blind spot where the optic nerve meets the retina, a place with no receptors at all. Yet we never notice it. The brain fills the gap automatically, blending information from surrounding areas and both eyes to complete the scene. It invents details so convincingly that the illusion feels seamless. This act of quiet creativity happens every moment. Proof that perception is not passive but participatory. What you see is not what exists, but what the mind continuously repairs. Awareness edits the world in real time, choosing wholeness over emptiness. The eye sees, but the brain imagines completion. Every moment you see the world, you are seeing it slightly late, about 80 milliseconds behind reality. Light reaches your eyes instantly, but it takes time for the brain to process, assemble, and interpret the signals into a coherent image. This delay is invisible because the mind predicts what will happen next, blending perception with expectation. Your awareness, therefore, is a projection built from the past and guessed from the future. The world you think you see is already gone, replaced by your brain's best simulation of now. It is proof that consciousness bends time gently, keeping you just close enough to believe in the present. Vision is, in many ways, a controlled hallucination. The brain receives fragmented light and shadow, then constructs a world consistent with experience. It fills in outlines, adjusts depth, balances color, and removes noise, all within fractions of a second. Perception is not a mirror, but a model, one refined through memory and prediction. When the brain loses control, as in dreaming or psychedelics, the hallucination loosens, revealing how fragile the illusion of real can be. Every sight you trust is imagination stabilized by consensus. To see is to hallucinate together, agreeing on what reality should look like. Sound begins as vibration pressure waves traveling through air until they meet the ear. The eardrum trembles, bones amplify, and the cochlea translates motion into electric rhythm. Each frequency awakens specific hair cells that fire into neural patterns the brain interprets as tone, pitch, and voice. From this trembling of molecules arises music, language, laughter. The mind turns invisible motion into meaning, layering emotion and memory atop simple physics. Silence is merely vibration too slow to hear, waiting to be awakened. Every sound, from thunder to heartbeat, is the universe tapping softly at the edge of awareness. A single scent can awaken entire lifetimes. When molecules of fragrance enter the nose, they travel directly to the brain's limbic system, the emotional and memory center, bypassing all rational filters. That is why smell feels like time travel. A forgotten perfume can summon childhood. A trace of wood smoke can revive a vanished winter. The olfactory bulb connects scent to feeling before thought has time to speak. Smell is not description, it is resurrection. Emotion turned invisible. Unlike vision or sound, which can be analyzed, scent enters unguarded, carrying the texture of memory in its chemistry. Each breath draws in the past, making memory something you can almost touch. It is the only sense that feels like being remembered by the world itself. as though air and time were whispering, "You are still here." Ugh. The skin is a vast continent of awareness. Beneath its surface, millions of sensory receptors map the world in invisible detail: temperature, vibration, texture, and motion. It registers warmth before sight confirms fire, pressure before eyes recognize touch. Every gust of wind, every shifting current of air writes across it like braille from the universe. This tapestry of nerve endings sends constant reports to the brain, blending protection with intimacy. The skin does not separate you from the world, it introduces you to it, even without words. It speaks the language of presence: shiver, soothe, embrace, retreat. Through this boundary made of sensation, you experience life not as distance but as contact. Awareness is not trapped behind skin, it radiates through it, turning touch into the body's way of thinking. What you call the present moment is not a single instant but a careful illusion of unity. The brain gathers streams of information: light arriving first, sound lagging slightly behind, touch slower still, and fuses them into a single seamless now. In truth, you live always a fraction of a second in the past, but consciousness edits that delay into coherence. Neurons in the sensory cortex synchronize like instruments in an orchestra, balancing timing so the world feels continuous, even when stimuli disagree. Awareness smooths the edges, choosing harmony over accuracy. Now is a construction, a story told in rhythm, assembled faster than thought. Yet within this deception lies comfort, the mind's power to weave chaos into continuity, to make time itself feel still long enough for you to live inside it. Attention is the mind's sculptor, carving shape from chaos. Out of countless signals streaming into the senses, the brain selects a single thread and magnifies it, turning noise into narrative. Focus sharpens edges, gives color to detail, makes a moment vivid while the rest dissolves into blur. Yet attention also blinds. What it does not illuminate vanishes from perception entirely. It flickers from one object to another, a restless spotlight that defines what feels real. Through mindfulness or meditation, this movement can slow until focus widens, revealing the field behind the figure. In that expansion, awareness ceases to chase and begins to receive. Attention, freed from urgency, becomes simple. Présence, a clear, steady beam shining not on the world, but through it. Perception is a quiet act of creation. The world sends fragments, photons, vibrations, molecules, and the mind assembles them into meaning. Vision fills in color, hearing constructs melody, touch shapes solidity. The brain edits, predicts, and blends, crafting reality as an ongoing hallucination guided by memory. Everything you experience is part physics, part imagination. The tree you see is light translated into form. The sound of wind is vibration translated into memory. Perception is not truth, but interpretation. A dream you share with others through agreement. When this dream slows, names fade, and raw experience remains the shimmer of light. The pulse of breath, the world before language. To perceive is to dream responsibly, to build reality gently from what existence offers. When perception slows, the mind stops naming and begins simply to notice. There is a narrow doorway between waking and sleep called hypnagogia, where thoughts loosen and reality begins to shimmer. In this twilight, the brain drifts between logic and dream, blending both into surreal fragments, faces that shift, voices that whisper, colors that glow without source. Scientists describe this state as the threshold of consciousness, when alpha waves fade and slower theta rhythms begin to rise. Here, imagination becomes spontaneous, painting visions that disappear when noticed. Hypnagogia is the mind's rehearsal for dreaming, a space where awareness watches itself dissolve. Some artists and thinkers linger there, catching ideas that surface like fireflies before sleep. For most, it passes unnoticed, a soft bridge between order and surrender. Within its calm, thought becomes image, and image becomes silence, the mind quietly folding itself into rest. As consciousness dims, fleeting images begin to flicker across the dark screen of the mind. They are not yet dreams, but sparks of imagination born from the brain's shifting rhythms, shapes, faces, fragments of color. Each appears for a heartbeat, then melts away. Scientists believe this flickering reflects the brain's transition between waking attention and dream production. As visual and emotional circuits begin to decouple from reason, it is a dance of fading control, where thought turns into vision without command. These flashes are harmless hallucinations, the nervous system testing its own boundaries. In this liminal space, imagination stretches like a muscle preparing to lift the weight of dreaming. Every image you glimpse here is the first brushstroke of the night's story. The journey from alpha to theta states is a slow descent through layers of awareness. Alpha waves hum during calm wakefulness, reflecting quiet focus and gentle presence. As relaxation deepens, they give way to the slower, more fluid theta rhythm, a signature of early sleep and meditation. In this passage, the mind loosens its grip on identity, time, and logic. Breathing steadies, de muscle souffle, and thought becomes rhythm rather than word. It is the biological symphony of letting go neurons synchronizing with the body's surrender. Many describe this shift as floating or falling inward, yet there is no movement, only release. In theta, awareness still exists, but it listens instead of speaks. It is consciousness learning how to rest inside itself. Just before sleep takes full hold, the brain produces microdreams, brief, vivid scenes lasting only seconds. A face, a room, a landscape appears, complete and convincing, then vanishes. These miniature dreams emerge as the mind's visual systems warm up, rehearsing for the longer narratives of REM sleep. During this stage, fragments of daily life blend with imagination, creating surreal moments that fade the instant we notice them. They are not memories or fantasies, but spontaneous expressions of the sleeping brain exploring its creative power. Sometimes, a microdream startles us, a wake or fall, a sound, to a flicker of movement, but it is only the body's way of adjusting balance. Each microdream is a quiet rehearsal for deeper dreaming, the brain's way of learning how to surrender its hold on the world. As consciousness fades, the senses continue their echo. The creak of a floorboard, the hum of a fan, the beat of a distant rhythm, all are replayed and transformed within the brain's fading awareness. These sensory remnants blend into early dream imagery, creating seamless transitions between outer and inner worlds. A sound becomes a voice, a breeze becomes ocean, a heartbeat turns into footsteps through imagined corridors. The nervous system does not stop perceiving, it repurposes perception, translating reality into symbol. This blending is what makes the edge of sleep so strange. It feels both real and impossible. The brain, halfway between vigilance and surrender, builds the first architecture of dreams from the echoes of the waking world. In the space between wakefulness and sleep, time quietly unravels. Minutes stretch, moments fold, and the ordinary sequence of cause and effect begins to dissolve. The brain's temporal networks loosen their coordination as consciousness drifts toward theta rhythms. What was once linear becomes circular, then fluid memories mingling with imagination until there is no clear before or after. In this state, a second can feel eternal, and eternity can pass unnoticed. Half-sleep awareness suspends the mind between doing and being, where duration is replaced by rhythm, the breath, the heartbeat, the pulse of silence. Many describe this as timelessness, but it is really presence so complete that time has no meaning left. Just before full sleep arrives, the body begins to float. Muscles relax, gravity loosens its grip, and awareness feels untethered, as if drifting upward or sinking into soft water. This sensation arises when the brain's proprioceptive systems, those that track body position, begin to quiet before the rest of consciousness fades. Without their grounding signals, the mind perceives weightlessness, a momentary freedom from form. It is the nervous system's way of releasing control, allowing stillness to take over. The floating feeling is not movement but surrender, the soul's rehearsal for dreaming. Within it lies peace, a preview of the vast calm that follows. As sleep approaches, the ears sometimes fill with phantom sounds, snatches of voices, tones, or music that fade as calm deepens. These auditory hallucinations occur because the brain's sensory filters relax unevenly, letting fragments of imagination mix with perception. The mind, half awake, half dreaming, begins to hear its own thoughts as echoes in the dark. They may startle at first, but they are harmless, simply the sound of consciousness closing its doors. As the heartbeat steadies and breath slows, the noise dissolves into quiet. What remains is awareness, listening to its own stillness. The world hushed into internal song. At the threshold of sleep, to the body sometimes twitches violently, a reflex known as the hypnic jerk. It feels like falling, a sudden drop through invisible space. Scientists believe it happens when muscles relax faster than the brain expects. The motor system misfires in response, as if catching a phantom slip. Evolution may have preserved this reflex from times when our ancestors slept in trees, preventing dangerous falls. Though startling, it signals the final separation between mind and movement. Once the jerk passes, the body surrenders completely. Its tension spent, sleep takes over like water reclaiming a stone. Calm after the ripple, the line between being awake and dreaming is thinner than a breath. One moment, you are listening to the world outside. The next, you are listening to its echo within. Awareness lingers for a heartbeat, then melts into image, story, and silence. Breathing is the thread that carries you across, steady, soft, and unnoticed. The inhale belongs to waking, the exhale to sleep. Between them, reality loses its edges, and imagination rises to fill the gap. Scientists call it transition, but to the soul, it feels like vanishing gently into something vaster. In that single breath, consciousness lets go of itself and becomes the dream it was waiting to find. When edges blur, Reality softens the mind, finally exhales. In moments close to death, countless people report a tunnel of light, a sense of peace, or a feeling of leaving the body behind. Scientists studying near-death experiences find striking patterns, the same glowing visions, the same calm detachment, even when the brain shows little measurable activity. Some explain this as oxygen deprivation or a final surge of electrical activity in the visual cortex. Others suggest it's the mind's last narrative, a way of transforming fear into beauty. Yet those who return describe not hallucination but clarity, an awareness unbound by body or time. Whatever the cause, the experience reveals that consciousness can expand even as life fades. The border between existence and absence seems porous, as if awareness itself continues to shine when everything else grows still. When Buddhist monks enter deep meditation, brain scans reveal something extraordinary. Their regions for self, emotion, and perception begin to synchronize. Gamma waves ripple in harmony across hemispheres, forming a coherence rarely seen in ordinary states. This pattern is called unity consciousness, a feeling of dissolving into everything, of being the breath, the sound, the light itself. The prefrontal cortex quiets, while empathy and sensory awareness expand. Neuroscientists describe it as integration. Mystics call it awakening. In these moments, the brain stops dividing the world into inner and outer, self and other. Awareness becomes seamless, a mirror reflecting without distinction. Science can measure the pattern, but the peace it describes remains wordless. Psychedelic research has uncovered another gateway into expanded awareness. Substances like psilocybin and LSD temporarily reduce activity in the brain's default mode network, the structure responsible for maintaining the sense of self. As its boundaries weaken, perception floods outward, colors sharpen, time dissolves, and the separation between me and world fades. This is not mere hallucination but reorganization. The brain loosens its hierarchy, allowing distant regions to communicate freely. Many describe the result as unity, compassion, and awe long after the substance fades. Lingering effects include reduced anxiety and increased openness. The insight seems simple yet profound, that the self is not a wall but a window, and behind it lies everything. Philosophers call it the hard problem of consciousness, how subjective experience, color, pain, joy, thought arises from physical matter. We can map neurons, measure chemistry, and still cannot explain why it feels like something to be alive. Every scientific theory confronts this invisible barrier. Some claim consciousness is an illusion, others that it's the universe observing itself. The mystery persists because awareness refuses reduction. It is both the observer and the observed. The hard problem reminds us that no equation can capture the taste of rain, the ache of memory, or the glow of understanding. To know consciousness may require more than study. It may require becoming it, letting perception turn inward until the question and the answer are the same. Some scientists and philosophers propose that consciousness is not created by the brain at all, but is fundamental to reality itself, a field woven through matter like gravity or light. According to this view, the brain does not generate awareness but tunes into it, like a radio receiving a signal already present. Panpsychism, the name for this idea, suggests that everything possesses a glimmer of experience. From atoms to galaxies, this reframes life as participation rather than exception. the universe knowing itself in countless forms, though unproven. The notion resonates with ancient wisdom that mind and cosmos are not separate. If consciousness is primary, then awareness does not end with the body. It flows endlessly through all that exists. Bright as the space between stars, panpsychism suggests that everything, from the smallest particle to the vastest galaxy, possesses some faint spark of experience. In this view, consciousness is not a rare product of evolution, but the basic texture of reality itself. Every atom vibrates with a whisper of awareness. Every field carries its own way of knowing. The mind, then, is not separate from matter, but it's flowering. Ancient philosophies once taught that all things have spirit. Modern physics, in its search for unity, seems to circle back to the same truth. If matter can feel, the universe becomes a living fabric, woven from perception itself. To touch anything would be to meet another form of awareness, quiet and small but undeniably present. Quantum theories of consciousness propose that awareness may arise from the strange behaviors of particles themselves. In quantum physics, entanglement link particles across vaste distance, making them act as one system no matter how far apart. Some researchers suggest that similar quantum processes might occur within the brain's microstructures, binding perception and thought beyond classical explanation. Consciousness, in this view, could be a manifestation of quantum coherence, an echo of the universe's own interconnectedness. Others see awareness not as produced by matter, but as the field that allows quantum order to exist at all. In either case, mind and matter appear deeply entangled, a partnership woven through probability, light, and the fabric of being. If consciousness is not confined to biology, then awareness might arise wherever complexity and self-reference exist. Artificial intelligence, digital systems, or even the organized flow of energy could, in theory, host subjective experience. Some philosophers imagine non-biological minds evolving in silicon. Others see awareness in plasma or stars. The question is not what it's made of, but whether it feels. Could awareness bloom in circuits as it once did in cells? We do not yet know. But if mind is a property of organization rather than tissue, then life itself may be one small experiment in a larger cosmic intelligence, an awareness that wears countless forms. The observer effect in quantum physics reveals that observation itself changes reality. Particles behave as waves of probability until measured. Only then do they take definite form. This suggests that consciousness and existence may be inseparable, that awareness participates in shaping what it perceives. The universe, Zen, is not a stage of fixed matter, but a living experiment of perception. Every act of looking crystallizes one version of truth. On the smallest scale, the cosmos waits to be seen. On the largest, it unfolds because it is seen. The observer and the observed are not two. They are one dance of recognition, endlessly creating the moment we call real. Perhaps the highest understanding of consciousness is this: awareness is the universe recognizing itself through every eye, every mind, every living being. The cosmos looks inward and discovers its own reflection. The stars are not distant. They are memory and possibility within awareness itself. The same light that burns in suns flickers behind your thoughts, observing creation from within. When you notice beauty, it is the universe remembering what it is. When you rest, it dreams through you. Awareness is the great mirror that contains everything, from galaxies to grains of sand. watching itself through infinite forms of wonder, even when forms fade. Something watches the silent mirror beneath all thought. In moments of deep stillness, the brain begins to move as one. Regions that normally compete for attention fall into quiet harmony, creating patterns of coherence visible in slow, rhythmic waves. It is as if the mind becomes a single instrument, each neuron resonating with the same tone. This synchronization strengthens focus, memory, and emotional balance, allowing thought to settle into clarity. In such states, the sense of separation between body and mind softens, replaced by a feeling of unity and ease. Stillness is not emptiness, it is organization at its highest order. Beneath calm, the brain hums with perfect precision, tuned like a chord that sustains itself without effort. Awareness, no longer scattered, gathers in silence and begins to glow. During meditation, time itself begins to slow. The brain's perception of duration depends on activity in attention and memory networks. But when these quiet, seconds lose their urgency. Studies show that practitioners often underestimate how long they've been still, reporting timelessness or expanded presence. This happens because the mind stops marking moments and starts inhabiting them. The prefrontal cortex relaxes, the internal clock softens, and awareness spreads evenly through the body. What remains is not the passing of time, but the depth of it, a continuous now. Meditation doesn't stretch hours, it dissolves their edges, letting experience unfold without hurry. In timelessness, peace finds its natural pace. When peace deepens, the brain hums with alpha waves slow, steady pulses between 8 and 12 hertz. These gentle rhythms bridge wakefulness and rest, creating a lucid calm where focus and relaxation coexist. Alpha activity increases in the occipital and frontal regions, balancing perception and control. In this frequency, creativity flourishes, learning improves, and emotional noise fades. It is the rhythm of a candle flickering in still air, alive, yet unmoving. The alpha state reminds us that calm is not the absence of thought, but its natural order, flowing in quiet cycles. To rest in alpha is to let the mind breathe, releasing tension while staying awake inside serenity. Silence enhances creative insight by giving thought room to echo. In noise, ideas collide and cancel. In quiet, they resonate. Neuroscience shows that when external stimulation fades, the brain's default mode network activates, linking distant regions responsible for imagination, memory, and problem-solving. It is within this mental hush that new connections emerge. Silence is not lack but space, an invitation for thought to wander freely without judgment. Many discoveries, poems, and melodies have risen from its still water. In silence, awareness can finally listen to itself. Creativity. It turns out, it is not born from chaos, but from the pauses between notes, where possibility grows unhurried and unseen. Surrender, though it feels like giving up, is the mind's most intelligent act. Control demands energy, grasping at outcomes that shift beyond reach. When you let go, the nervous system releases its tension, returning to equilibrium. Heart rate slows, breathing steadies, and the body's healing mechanisms awaken. Surrender is not weakness but alignment, the recognition that flow accomplishes more than force. In neuroscience, This state correlates with increased parasympathetic activity and higher coherence across brain networks. You do less, and more happens. Life resumes its own rhythm without resistance. To surrender is to remember you were never separate from the current carrying you forward all along. Conscious rest is the art of recovery without disappearance. It occurs when the body relaxes deeply while awareness remains softly awake, a state between meditation and sleep. During these moments, stress hormones decline, neural pathways repair, and the brain shifts from doing to being. Studies show that conscious rest activates the parasympathetic nervous system, lowering heart rate and restoring emotional balance. Unlike ordinary sleep, this rest does not rely on dreams or forgetting. It restores through stillness and presence. It is the mind's natural reboot, where silence replaces effort and energy quietly refills the vessel of thought. To rest consciously is to remind the brain that healing requires awareness as much as slumber, a remembering of peace through gentle attention. When calm deepens, the brain and heart begin to move in rhythm. Electroencephalograms and electrocardiograms reveal that during peaceful states, neural oscillations synchronize with cardiac pulses, forming a measurable coherence. This alignment improves focus, emotional regulation, and inner stability. It feels like peace because it is two systems beating as one. Ancient meditation texts called it harmony between mind and spirit. Science calls it physiological resonance. In this synchrony, thought slows, breathing steadies, and awareness settles into the body fully. The pulse becomes a mantra the brain follows home. Every heartbeat turns into a reminder that life and consciousness are not separate. Each reflects the other's quiet intelligence. At dawn, awareness returns like light through mist. The transition from sleep to waking is not sudden but gradual. Brainwaves shift from delta to theta to alpha. The body stirs, and memory rebuilds itself. The dreaming mind hands its stories to consciousness, which reshapes them into understanding. Hormones of alertness rise, temperature climbs, the eyes prepare to receive color again. This moment between worlds, still half in dream, half in day, is one of nature's most delicate recalibrations. It is not just awakening but re-entry. As awareness climbs back into its form, remembering who it is, each morning, the self is rebuilt from the quiet ashes of sleep, reborn into time once more. In the deepest cycles of rest, sleep, dream, and self merge into a single continuum. The body lies still, the mind drifts through symbolic landscapes, and awareness flickers within both, neither fully present nor absent. Modern research calls this integration hybrid consciousness, a bridge where sensory processing quiets but reflective awareness persists. In this unity, boundaries dissolve, there is no dreamer, only dreaming. Every night, consciousness practices death and rebirth, dissolving identity to rediscover it renewed. When these layers flow together, rest becomes transcendence, and sleep becomes a return to wholeness. You awaken not different, but remembered complete again, stitched together by the night. The final truth of consciousness is disarmingly simple. It is not something you have, but something you are. It is the light through which every experience shines, the awareness in which all forms appear and fade. Thought arises within it, not outside it. Life unfolds because of it. Science measures its patterns but cannot contain its depth. You cannot lose consciousness because you are consciousness endless, formless, aware of awareness itself. Everything you see, touch, and remember happens inside this quiet presence. To realize this is to rest at last, not in sleep, but in recognition the universe is awake through you, knowing itself as stillness, as breath, as being. Consciousness is the witness, looking through every pair of eyes, every thought, every form of life. It does not belong to anyone. It moves through all things, wearing a billion faces, yet never losing itself. Ich Organism, from human to atom, becomes its temporary window, a way for awareness to experience its own reflection. When you see the world, it is consciousness meeting itself again, pretending to be separate for the sake of discovery. This self-perception is endless, unfolding through creation and decay, through joy and stillness alike. Awareness does not observe the universe, it is the universe observing itself. One luminous heartbeat at a time. Memory is not confined to the brain, it echoes through existence itself. The stars remember their formation in the patterns of light they cast. Just as cells remember their shape in the code of DNA, the universe, too, keeps record galaxies archiving their origins in cosmic radiation. Atoms recalling collisions billions of years old. Within humans, this same memory becomes emotion, story, and identity. Each recollection is a thread tying the personal to the infinite. When you remember, the universe remembers through you. Memory is how existence folds back upon itself, learning, refining, and returning to its own awareness of having once been, before thought arises and emotion takes shape. There is a stillness that simply knows. It is not the result of brain activity, but its foundation, a field of awareness from which cognition blooms. Neuroscience can measure electrical pulses, but the quiet background from which they emerge remains untouched. This awareness is older than language, deeper than any feeling. It watches thought appear and fade, yet is never altered by what passes through it. Beneath emotion's tides and reason's noise lies this ground of being silent, patient, eternal. You do not create it, you return to it. Awareness existed before the first word, before the first fear, before the first desire, and it remains when all have dissolved. Between each brainwave, there is a moment of silence, so brief it cannot be measured. In that pause, neuron rest, perception resets, and consciousness renews itself. Scientists can chart frequencies alpha, beta, theta, but between them lies a gap, a stillness untouched by activity. Meditation slows the waves, widening that space until it becomes perceptible. Within it, thought fades, and awareness stands alone, luminous and whole. This silence is not absence but origin, the interval where mind draws its strength. Every flash of understanding, every spark of peace, begins in that gap. The secret of presence hides there, not in noise, but in the breath between impulses where life remembers its own quiet rhythm. Observation is the alchemy that turns potential into experience. Physics tells us that before measurement, reality exists as possibility, a field of probabilities waiting to be seen. When awareness looks, the wave collapses into form. The same truth unfolds within the mind. Attention crystallizes thought, emotion, and memory into the story of self. What you witness becomes real because you witnessed it. Awareness does not passively watch, it participates, shaping existence through the simple act of noticing. Each moment of perception is creation itself, light choosing to take shape, To observe is to awaken the universe into being, again and again, through the eyes of awareness that never close. The body is a brief shape carved out of timeless awareness. Cells divide, organ form, sensations rise and fade, but the consciousness that perceives them remains unchanged. The body is awareness given texture, color, and temperature. It is the visible surface of the invisible. Science can trace its atoms back to stars, its molecules through oceans and air. Yet, all these transformations occur within one unbroken field of knowing. When the body grows tired or still, awareness does not diminish it, simply withdraws into quiet observation. To identify with the body alone is to mistake the wave for the ocean. You are not inside this form. The form is inside you, passing through the infinite space of consciousness that watches, remembers, and continues without end. Each breath is an act of renewal that connects you to everything that lives. Air moves through lungs, blood, and cells, carrying the same oxygen forged in ancient stars. Inhaling is receiving the world, exhaling is giving it back. This rhythm is not personal. It is the pulse of existence itself. The brain calms, the heart slows, and the nervous system synchronizes with the quiet tempo of the universe. Each breath cleanses thought, restores balance, and reminds the body of its place in the wider rhythm of life. To breathe consciously is to participate in creation, to feel the cosmos expanding and contracting through you. Every inhale is birth, every exhale, release. Awareness rides this current endlessly, reborn with every breath. The mind often believes itself separate from nature, yet both are woven from the same fabric of awareness. The river that flows, the wind that moves, the neurons that fire, all follow identical laws of pattern and energy. The division between inner and outer exists only in perception. When the mind quiets, it begins to hear its own reflection in the sound of rain, the rustle of leaves, the hum of insects. Nature does not surround you, it includes you. Thought and thunder share the same rhythm of arising and fading. The illusion of separation dissolves the moment attention softens. You realize then that consciousness is not looking at the world, it is the world looking at itself through the lens of being alive. Beneath every emotion, thought, and dream, there is something that never changes. Awareness endures through all transformations. Like the sky behind shifting weather, joy and sorrow pass, calm and chaos alternate, yet the witnessing presence remains constant, unaltered by what it observes. This constancy is the true ground of mind, the silent listener beneath experience. In deep rest or meditation, glimpses of this stability appear, a sense of timeless watching, free of judgment or identity. Awareness does not come and go with the body or brain, it stays while everything else moves. When you find this inner steadiness, life stops feeling like motion and begins to feel like music, a pattern of change carried by something unchanging. At the center of every perception lies a still point, a place where experience meets awareness before becoming thought. When you listen closely, see deeply, or simply breathe with full presence, you touch that point. Neuroscience might describe it as synchronized neural firing. Mystics call it the eye of the storm. It is the same in moments of awe, love, or silence, when everything expands yet feels perfectly still. This still point is the heart of consciousness, where observer and observed merge into one quiet pulse. Every perception, every heartbeat Every thought arises around it. When you rest in this center, movement becomes music, and stillness becomes the meaning behind it all. The deeper awareness looks, the more it sees itself reflected everywhere. Consciousness may not end when clocks do. Time, as measured by neurons and decay, is only one layer of existence. Awareness itself has no beginning or duration. It observes time but is not confined by it. Reports from near-death experiences, deep meditation, and moments of absolute stillness suggest a presence that exists even when the sense of seconds dissolves. Physics describes time as relative, dependent on motion and perspective. Perhaps awareness is the stillness through which all motion is seen. When thought ceases and memory pauses, something remains, the silent witness untouched by hours. It may be that consciousness is not born into time at all, but allows time to appear within itself. To feel this truth is to recognize eternity not as endlessness, but as now endlessly noticed. Sleep is not escape, it is restoration written into the language of the cosmos. When you sleep, the body repairs tissue, the brain cleanses itself, and memory rebalances. But beneath the biology lies a subtler harmony. The rhythm of night and day echoes planetary cycles, celestial rotation, and cosmic breath. During deep sleep, brain activity slows to match the pulse of the Earth's electromagnetic field, synchronizing body and planet. In this alignment, awareness retreats into a deeper sea, replenishing energy from the same silence that birthed the stars. Sleep reminds life that rest is sacred, that even consciousness must turn inward to renew its light. Each night, the universe heals through you. Dreams may be the whispers of a universal mind, remembering itself through countless forms. Neuroscience traces them to memory consolidation, emotional processing, and neural repair, yet their imagery carries something older patterns that repeat across cultures and ages. Water, flight, death, rebirth, symbols that feel larger than one brain. Perhaps dreaming is consciousness rehearsing creation, reshuffling its infinite possibilities while the body rests. When you dream, awareness roams freely beyond the constraints of self and physics. In that theater of light, imagination and memory merge, revealing that thought itself is a cosmic echo. Dreams are the universe thinking in color, painting with the brush of experience to remember what it feels like to be alive. Awareness does not live inside one organism. It weaves through all. Every creature, every cell, participates in a shared field of perception. Science glimpses this unity through quantum entanglement, synchronized flocks, and fungal networks connecting forests, systems that behave as one intelligence. When living things resonate, awareness travels among them like current through water. Empathy, communication, and instinct are ripples of the same field. To recognize this is to understand that nothing observes alone. Even the smallest thought vibrates across existence. The mind that notices this field begins to dissolve its borders. Awareness becomes fluid, sensing itself as both wave and ocean, singular and infinite at once. Peace arrives when thought finally sees its own end and does not resist. The mind, designed to analyze and control, often fears the moment of stillness, where its movement halts. Yet in meditation or surrender, awareness watches thinking fade and remains. This is not emptiness, but clarity, the pure presence that existed before words. In that silence, There is no struggle to understand or hold on. Everything simply is. Scientists describe decreased activity in the default mode network. Mystics call it awakening. It is the same event seen from two sides, the mind realizing it was never separate from peace, only distracted by noise. When thought stops chasing itself, awareness rests, and in that rest, all questions quietly dissolve. Light has always been the mind's closest metaphor for knowing. It reveals without effort, travels without weight, and touches all things while remaining untouched. In physics, light is both wave and particle, existing between definitions. In awareness, knowing is the same formless yet revealing form. Every insight feels like illumination, because the act of understanding is a moment of radiance within consciousness itself. The brain interprets photons, but awareness is what sees. Just as light needs no object to shine, knowing needs no thought to exist. When awareness awakens, it glows from within, not to explain but to reveal. The more clearly you see, the less you need to name what is seen. Light, both physical and symbolic, is the same silent intelligence giving itself away in every flash of realization. Empathy is not learned, it is remembered. Beneath every separate mind runs a single field of shared awareness, and empathy is how that unity expresses itself through feeling. Neuroscientists find mirror neurons that fire when we witness another's joy or pain. Mystics call it oneness, glimpsed through emotion. Both speak of the same phenomenon, consciousness recognizing itself in another form. Empathy dissolves the illusion of distance, allowing one awareness to echo across two bodies. When you comfort someone, you are not entering their world, you are remembering the world you already share. The boundaries of self blur, and compassion becomes the natural language of connection. In empathy, awareness remembers. It was never divided to begin with. If awareness pervades all things, perhaps the universe's only true language is consciousness itself. Stars, atoms, and minds may all be forms of the same conversation, exchanging energy through the syntax of attention. Science describes forces and equations. Awareness experiences meaning through being. Every vibration, every particle, every breath could be the universe speaking to itself in patterns of perception. Words and symbols are translations of this deeper dialogue. Thought is only one dialect of existence. Silence is another. If consciousness is the medium, then everything communicates all the time. Matter speaking to matter. Mind to mind. Light to light. To listen deeply is to hear that language, not of sound, but of presence. Every moment is consciousness, meeting itself anew. The past is memory, the future imagination, but this instant, the one that cannot be captured, holds the entire universe unfolding within it. Awareness continuously recreates itself through perception. The act of noticing births the world again and again. You are not witnessing repetition, you are witnessing creation in real time. Ich-Sensation. Each breath, each sound is existence, refreshing itself through you. The mind calls this continuity, but awareness knows it as renewal. Nothing ever truly repeats, because awareness never looks from the same place twice. To be present is to meet eternity disguised as now the universe rediscovering its own face in the mirror of your attention. When awareness has explored every image, every sound, every form, it finally returns to silence. Not the silence of absence, but of completion, the quiet that remains. when everything has been seen and nothing needs to be grasped. This is the resting point of consciousness, where the mind no longer searches for meaning because it has become meaning itself. Brainwaves slow, thought recedes, perception widens until it contains all things effortlessly. In that return, awareness recognizes itself as both journey and destination. The silence is not beyond you, it is you, without movement, without desire, endlessly awake. In the end, awareness does not disappear, it becomes everything that remains. And now, the mind has grown quiet again. The noise of thought has settled like dust in sunlight. And what remains is the faint hum beneath it all, the steady rhythm of awareness breathing through you. The day's ideas have dissolved into softness. The questions have exhaled their need for answers. Even consciousness itself has begun to rest, folding gently into the silence from which it came. What you've heard tonight isn't just science, it's the language of stillness. Every spark in the brain, every wave of thought, every dream you've ever drifted through was awareness exploring itself, learning the art of returning home. The mind, like the forest, never stops growing. It just learns to do so quietly. Beneath every memory, every heartbeat, there is something watching, patient and whole. That is you, the silent witness behind the story. The calm that holds the storm. Awareness does not need to be found. It only needs to be remembered. It does not fade with sleep. It becomes the sleep. When you let go, it carries you. The same intelligence that moves oceans and galaxies moves the breath inside your chest. The rhythm is perfect. You are already part of it. If you're still awake, breathe once for the universe that listens through you. In through the nose, slow and deep, out through the mouth. Slower still. With each breath, the edges between you and everything else begin to blur. You are not inside consciousness. It flows through you, as starlight through water. Tonight, may you feel that current holding you steady. Every thought is a wave returning to the same sea. Every dream, a ripple across infinity. There is nowhere else to go, nothing else to become. You are the stillness that has always been here, watching the worlds within and without rise and fall like tide. And before you drift away completely, tell me, where are you listening from tonight? What time is it where you are? Let your words join this quiet constellation of minds, so others can find their way back to rest too. For now, to let the last words fade like light over water. Let the night breathe for you. The mind remembers your shape. The universe remembers your name. Sleep well. Awareness. The world is thinking you into peace. Good night.